Well, folks, we've pretty much come full circle here on Test Drive. One of the first new vehicles I drove on this show was the Hyundai Tucson, and here we are with the next generation. This, my friends, is a 2022 Hyundai Tucson Ultimate Hybrid all-wheel drive. Here in Canada, if you wanted to go for the luxury or ultimate trims, the two top, you only get it as a hybrid. In the States, there are a couple different options, but here you're going with the hybrid if you want to have all the tech and all the features. Now, this vehicle, priced as is about $42,000 Canadian, just over $37,000 in the US. There are a couple options on here like the Amazon gray paint, but in the US you do have to add a couple of the interior features as options, whereas they are included on our trim here. Now, why are you going to be interested in this very radical looking compact crossover? Well, first of all, this uses a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline-4 engine. Combined with the electric motor, produces 227 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, and this uses a 6-speed hybrid automatic transmission. You go with the regular gas version, you'll have an 8-speed automatic. Now, in North America, we get the long wheelbase version of this vehicle, a little bit more space on the inside for our markets, but it's essentially the same car sold everywhere else as well. And it is quite a unique look to it. Hyundai calls this Parametric Dynamics with a kinetic dual surface. You can see on the exterior, and it kind of looks like Cyberpunk 2077 here in the real world. Now, when we drove the Genesis G90, I said that the car itself looked really good in person, but not so much in photos, and that's how I felt about this as well. When I first saw the vehicle unveiled, I thought that it was just way too out there, and it didn't look that good. But now that I've seen it in person, I've spent some time with it, I can tell you that much like the Genesis, it does look much better in person. Now, it might not be for everybody, but the way Hyundai is marketing this is they know that not everybody's going to be interested in this, but because there are so many choices now in the compact consumer crossover segment, that it is good to go with something completely out there. It won't be the design for everybody, but those who want to drive something that stands out, is different, is future facing, will be interested in the new Tucson. So I think it's good. I mean, there are so many vehicles out there to choose from. Why not go with something different? I mean, you look at some of the manufacturers like Mazda, for example, everything looks exactly the same. Hyundai, though, they're making everything different so that each vehicle in their lineup has a unique look to it. Now, on the front here, we have these unique daytime running lights, again, built into their Parametric grille, as Hyundai calls it. With the top trims, these smoked lenses fade in a little bit better to the grille, making them almost impossible to see when the lights are off and giving it a really cool look when you're driving on the road. You will not mistake this for anything else. Out back, Hyundai says the full-width rear lights are echoing the front daytime running lights with half-hidden triangular shapes that only come out when lit. So I think it's a good look to it. Again, it looks better in person, and you're not going to lose this in the parking lot. This is so different and so unique that it does stand out. And again, that's going to be something that some people might not like. Now, another thing about the back, Hyundai says that in order to preserve the purity of their design, the badge itself had to be moved up to the rear glass, and then the wiper is actually hidden underneath the top spoiler. Now, I like the position of the wiper, it keeps it out of the way, and I thought at first I'd be driving and looking out the back and seeing the Hyundai badge all the time, but they have covered that up with a piece of trim. Now, when you jump on the inside, it's completely different from anything that we've seen from Hyundai so far. We have dual 10.25-inch infotainment systems, one for the cluster and one for the infotainment system, with all the HVAC controls being essentially soft touch buttons. No physical buttons really in the vehicle. Those are all soft touch underneath the infotainment system. It's important to note that if you go with the regular 8-inch screen, you will have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, but you go up to the larger screen here, you have to use a USB cable in order to use CarPlay and Android Auto, and that's because you get built-in navigation. So for me, it works. I personally don't use Apple CarPlay unless I absolutely have to, so built-in navigation works pretty well with this. Now, a couple things on the inside that Hyundai says is new. There's no hood over the 10.25-inch display where the gauge cluster would be, and it's fully digital. And we also have a multi-air ventilation system, which is really integrated well into the design of the vehicle, providing a different flow of air depending on how you want it. Now, this vehicle comes equipped with ventilated and heated front seats, driver memory, a panoramic sunroof, dual zone climate control with a rear vent, 64 color ambient lighting, a 360-degree camera with very good camera resolution, full enhanced safety like blind spot information, active cruise control, rear cross traffic alert, lane keep assist, the blind spot monitor, which uses the cameras on the side when you're turning, as well as the safe exit warning system in case you've got kids that might be getting out of the vehicle if there's something coming from behind. This vehicle also has a 10-speaker Bose audio system with wireless phone charging, home link, remote start, and the remote parking feature, which allows you to move the vehicle out of a parking spot with your key fob. So there's some pretty cool stuff on here. Pricing is pretty average for what you get in this segment, though you do have the hybrid. So it's a little bit more than some of the competition, but you get the hybrid. And the real only feature you're missing on this that you don't get is a color head-up display. A lot of the manufacturers now are putting that on their vehicles. Hyundai has not done that with this specific vehicle. So that is something that they could hopefully add down the road. But for the most part, it's a fully loaded vehicle for our standards. Now, I want to take it on the road. We're going to be talking a lot about fuel economy and how it compares to other vehicles in the segment and other hybrids that we've tested, and everything else that you need to know if you're in the market for the 2022 Hyundai Tucson Ultimate Hybrid All-Wheel Drive. Well, we're driving a hybrid vehicle here, meaning that the fuel economy numbers are probably what's going to be the most important for consumers. So how did the 2022 Tucson do on our 100-kilometer test loop? 6.2 liters per 100 kilometers with the US miles per gallon equivalent below. Not too bad overall. Now, how does it stack up to some of the competition? Now, I would say that, believe it or not, the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid would be a comparable vehicle. It's kind of similar in terms of being a family vehicle. It's got similar space for people, and pricing's pretty close as well. Now, that one's a front-wheel drive mid-size sedan. That completed it in 4.5 liters per 100 kilometers, so quite a bit better. That makes sense. But how about other compact consumer crossovers? The most recent ones that we've tested were the Mazda CX-5 Signature. That has the 2.5-liter turbo engine that completed our test loop in 7.3 liters per 100 kilometers. And then also the Honda CR-V we did, that did it in 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers. So overall, this is a little bit more fuel efficient, about a full liter per 100 kilometers more, just a little bit over that. So that'll add up. And then if you're doing a lot of in-town stuff, you'll be able to save some fuel there. I mean, I'm only averaging 7.1 liters right now. We don't ever use that number. I mean, we used to, but for a while now, I don't talk about the numbers of what I do in town and throughout the full week, because it can't compare it to anything. Some weeks I might do a lot more highway driving, but the point is, I haven't done much since we've been in pandemic mode, so I've been mostly driving around town, and 7.1 for an in-town kind of deal, that's pretty good. So fuel economy will be good too, depending on what you're doing. That's kind of the whole point. Since this is a hybrid, performance isn't really that important. You do have a number of drive modes for the vehicle. So we do have it in eco mode, that's how it starts up, but you have smart and sport mode. And we also have terrain modes for snow, mud, and sand, which could be good. We're seeing that now in this segment. More manufacturers are putting those options on their crossovers to have a little bit more choice for how these vehicles can do in different situations. The ride and drive on this is also pretty smooth. I find it's pretty comparable to other vehicles in this segment. You go over the bumps, it's nice. You take corners, it's nice and level. You don't really get moved around too much in your seat. So I'd say that overall this is a very good comfort choice. Obviously, it's not the sporty choice, but if you're looking for something that will be comfortable, that drives well and is smooth, I mean, it's got a hybrid, so for the most part, you're going to be switching in between electric and regular gas modes. So you're not going to really feel too much change with that. The transmission is smooth enough. Yeah, it works really well. The only thing I do find when I come to a stop, there is a bit of a delay. If you stop the vehicle, since there's no stop-start system, I find that there is just a slight throttle delay before being able to get off the line. It depends on the situation, so sometimes it comes up. That would be something that I would avoid. Usually we find with the hybrids, they're very good, because when you're coming to a stop, it'll essentially turn off the engine, but the electric system will be there, so you have instant throttle when you come off the line. So that's the only small thing there. But aside from that, the ride and drive on this, very good, nice and comfortable, nice and smooth for what you want out of a compact consumer crossover. But I want to talk about the interior, because I'm telling you, I sat in this car and I was blown away with how comfortable it was. I dropped off the Lincoln Aviator before picking this up, and I know they are not vehicles that you compare. They do not compete at all. It just happened to be the vehicle I was driving before. And when I got into this, I was just shocked at how comfortable, like, I just kind of fall into this seat, and it's so good. And I just find that the way that the interior is set up, I, as a big guy, am very comfortable in here. So the seats are definitely to die for. Super nice. Front seat's great. Backseat space is good too. As I mentioned, we have a longer wheelbase variant here for North America. So if you're in Europe or other markets, it's going to be slightly smaller than this. But the idea is it's the same vehicle, just slightly bigger here for our market. And I'm telling you, it works out well. I have enough space. If I'm in the back, I can sit behind myself, which is usually something that we look for. So the space in there is good. And it's laid out pretty well. I mean, it's nice. It's refreshing not to have sort of the same thing over and over again. If you think that this is sort of the equivalent of that Sonata, interior is definitely different than what we saw on that was a new vehicle too. So you have a different interior. You're not buying just a cookie cutter version of the same design language or just the same interior thrown together across multiple vehicles. Some people might like that, and that's why those options are out there on the market. The fact that this is different is good. Gives people some choice and allows you to have some flexibility when it comes to this segment. I mean, there's so many vehicles that you have a lot to choose from, but I do like it. The touch buttons for the HVAC controls, I mean, they're laid out well. There's no real issue there. You just kind of tap it and it'll work. I do find sometimes I have to tap it twice. It doesn't quite get there, but it works fine. The infotainment system we really like. We've always liked what Hyundai has to offer. The updated version, the 10.25-inch screen, is very nice. It's a really solid vehicle overall. I'm impressed with it. I like the look of it. I like the interior of it. Everything works out well. I know it's super funky. It's really out there, but I'm telling you, if you're in the market for this, I would definitely check it out. See it in person first. Don't be like me. Don't judge a book by its cover before actually taking a look at it, because you might find out that your initial assumptions, like mine were, are wrong. I was pretty ready to just write this bad boy off and say, woo, buddy, it's too different, too out there, not for me, and I was wrong. This is a seriously good contender in this segment. Once again, shows us. I keep saying it, and I feel like I keep having to say it because there is still some stigma out there. Some people out there who will not buy a vehicle from a South Korean company because of how the vehicles were in the past, but they have done such a 180-degree shift in terms of build quality, design language, everything. I mean, Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, I know they're new, but the idea is all three of those brands now are world class. They have taken the image of being cheap and kind of throwaway cars and turned it around into being some of the best vehicles that we have tested. And it's the best vehicles we've tested continuously. It's not like one vehicle comes out and it's a gem. I mean, every single car that we have featured has just been great. So if you aren't considering something like this because, 10 years ago maybe there were some rust issues, or 15 years ago the engine might fall out of the car, that's a different company than what's making this today. They have changed so much. That's why I'm so excited to be watching what Hyundai is doing, because they have come out with some great stuff. And I'm very excited to see what they have in store for the future. You look at something like this is the direction that they're moving, and they know what they want to do. Yes, it's going to be kind of different than what everybody else is doing, but that's good. It's good to be different. So I have enjoyed this vehicle. I would certainly consider it if I were in the market for a compact crossover. It's such a difficult segment to stand out in because there's so much choice. The only thing that this thing could use, I'm not saying it needs it, but if you were to add a feature onto it, a color head-up display would just complement the tech-forward vehicle that this is. At least that's what Hyundai says. They say that it is for the tech connoisseur, so add a HUD. Aside from that, though, it's got everything that I need and works well for my lifestyle. If you have any questions about this Tucson, please leave a comment below. I try to get back to everybody as soon as I can. Leave a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already for more content like this. Until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.